Ian,
Yes, sir.
we have a scumbag
Seller
of the
week.
and it's
Been a while.
since we had these did the Michaela Maroney little smirk, corner of the mouth thing. All right, the Wall Street Journal, the newspaper of money, big money, capitalism. They reported positively on a 16-year-old. I almost feel bad we're talking about a 16-year-old in this way, but even 16-year-olds could be a scumbag so that we could potentially. Became a scalper, not a reseller, a pandemic scalper. $1.7 million in revenue from scalping.
$110,000 profit.
Which we'll get into. But the big news was $1.7 million in revenue by being a pandemic reseller. That was the Wall Street Journal article. I got to my free limit, so I can't comment on that anymore. But here's the Tech Times one. And it was mostly, new consoles that obviously there's scalper networks and bots for PS5, Xbox Series S. This is how this, what's his name, Hayden, made a chunk of their money. And from New Jersey. Max Hayden, good old another Max from New Jersey.
Scalping PS5s, Xbox Series X's, dumbbells, hair clippers, I think Pokemon cards were mentioned. Basically anything.
During the pandemic that was scarce.
That was scarce during the pandemic that people wanted.
Yeah, home exercise stuff. I remember buying my resistance bands back in like March when I knew it was going to get bad. And then 2 weeks later, the price had doubled on what I bought for like $20, $25. It was now $45.
Yeah.
So hair clippers, I know like the Flowbee type stuff, like that was a huge resurgence last year. Like all the at-home buzzers and stuff. So I don't know what the profit margin is on that stuff in particular and how hard it is to get that stuff. But we're going to talk about, I guess, we'll start with the ethics of reporting on this in a positive light. It's really, it bugs me.
Yeah, it's very strange that the Wall Street Journal basically came out and they were like, here's this feel-good story about a young teen, entrepreneurship in I mean, of course this is from the fucking Wall Street Journal. Here's a story of entrepreneurship and bootstrapping, of this young lad, and it's just fucking scalping. They're glorifying scalping. This isn't starting a business. This is fencing products.
Scalping is not a business. This is why.
You're not exactly fencing, but retail arbitrage is what it's called.
Arbitrage. Fencing is stolen
Fencing
goods.
is different. Stolen goods. Correcting myself.
Good old John DeLea's favorite thing to talk about, retail arbitrage. He likes bringing that up in conversations. The reason why it's not a business, this is why. You're not a business if you're contingent upon certain weird situational economic things happening or pandemic or certain products to come out where you capitalize on it. That's not a sustainable business that you can do regularly. That could disappear at any time. And plus, you can take a hit at any time when it comes to that as well. So what I'm going to say is this. Is this like, working, let's see, at least 40 hours a week Hayden does to do this. Max allots this. So this is a full-time job that this individual is doing over the past year and a half, I guess it's been. What was the full-time time frame here? The Xbox didn't come out until the fall, Christmas, right?
It was November for both the Xbox and the Sony.
So he was probably scalping stuff before that. Mm-hmm. So it was okay. It was $110,000 profit last year on 1.7 million in sales. Someone pointed out, I believe Josh from Living Run, saying that is horrible profit margins. So just as a recap, revenue is just money you take in to your business. That doesn't account for your costs in doing business.
Right.
So if Luna makes $100 revenue on selling a game, that's not necessarily profit. There's costs they put into acquire the game, costs to pay Ian, to run the store. There's other costs involved. But directly for that product, even maybe they cost them $50 to acquire the $100 game. So doing pat math, 110,000 divided by 1.7 million is about 6%. You made
wow.
You made 6% profit on $1.7 million in sales. That's actually really, really bad. And I'll get into why. The effort you put in to make that money, 40 hours a week, $110,000, you'd say that's not bad for 40 hours a week, obviously, to do that. But you're still not taking account some certain things. This is not a salaried money. This is capital gains.
Right.
This is capital gains. This is taxed higher than regular salary, or at least like you got to pay out a little bit more. And this is why. That on that $110,000. Okay, I'm gonna bring out my calculator here. I'm gonna tell you how much money Sam's actually taking home here. And I don't know, being a 16-year-old, how that works. Obviously, you're gonna be filing taxes on your parents still at that point. But this is taxed. $110,000. You're gonna have state in New Jersey. I looked up. He's paying roughly 5% state taxes on that. So we'll just say we'll bring it down to about $102,000 right there. He's obviously paying federal on that. I'm going to say the federal will be somewhere on that. I'll just say 15%. That's probably around there. So we'll just say he's losing 20% on $110,000, right? So 20% of 100,000. Okay, 5.8. You're down to $88,000. Oh, wait a second. I got to pay something else. I got to pay potentially Social Security and Medicare on this now. That's about 15% that you have to pay on something. Unless there's a way you can get around that, I don't know. The whole point is this: the money, the $110,000 profit. That's not what is going to end up in this kid's bank account. Still, it's going to be more and more and more. And what I'm going to say is this: when you're doing this scalping business, and they're not saying $70,000 or $75,000 isn't a lot of money to a 16-year-old. That's a ton of money for him, and good for him when it comes to that. But the risk involved in doing this scalping, the time, and the 40 hours a week is not a small amount of time. This can go wrong at any time for any product along the way. We saw it go wrong with the Wii U. We saw scalpers get their asses eaten.
Yep.
Not in a good way. Back in 2012. They assumed it was going to be as big as the Wii was. And they assumed there was going to be... You couldn't find a new Wii for like a year and a half when it came out. It was ridiculous. Almost 2 years.
A long, long time.
They thought it was going to be like with the Wii U. We saw them. We laughed at them. We saw them getting stuck holding the bag on the Wii U. So what do you do with this merchandise that you have laying around now? You can't just make a profit on. You got to, so to celebrate it is weird because this kid is like still making money, but he's working his ass off. It's not like this is found money. The kid's working his ass off to make this money. He is.
And it's a sleazy way to do it.
Yeah. So like, it's not like he made $1 million profit. It's not like he made $500,000 profit. And at some point you got to move on from doing this. You got to go to school. You got to go to high school. You can't work 40 hours a week going to high school. You got to go to college. This is not going to transfer over. He'll be able to do it as a side hobby. There's no way he'll be able to do this full time if it wasn't a pandemic. This is a very special scenario.
Very specific.
And very specific video game console products that because of the pandemic, I guess were harder to make. So like this is not, you can't repeat this over time necessarily.
Right.
It's going to run out, the scalping scenarios.
Yeah.
Am I talking too much in these segments? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's just that you're right. There's just I talked a lot during some of the earlier segments. It's a finite resource.
Yeah.
You just the struggle is then going to be finding, if you were to keep doing this as a business, finding more things to scalp. And as we exit the pandemic, it's going to get harder.
Oh, I'm sorry. He's making less money because he's also hiring. Good for him though. $15 an hour. He's hiring his 2 friends to pack up the orders and do other tasks. So that $110,000, that's the entire business profit, I guess, before
and then whatever
this.
else he's paying. Yeah, whatever he's paying out.
So, I mean, good for him. He's at least learning how businesses work. But this is not the way you want to do it.
No.
And then there's an article here from GameBite about Gen Z online money makers. And yeah, it can be tough to get a job, which I saw a report recently, though, that teenagers are making more money than ever before because they can't get enough entry-level positions filled. So now it's almost like for the first time, teenagers are able to somewhat negotiate like a starting
wage per
hour.
Sure.
Which is like, that's interesting. Because I guess that's the, there's a lot more unemployment, and there's, with things like that, we still have unemployment benefits going through, I think, running through the fall. There's a lot of people that, that's why we can't get as many Lyft and Uber drivers as usual. There's a lot of people not working because they have this extra income. But teenagers that want to work, that can't get this money, it's a employee market, I guess, for some of these jobs.
Yeah.
So they're actually making out. It's a weird effect here. So there you go, Max. I would say this, Max. Go to college, get a good, go to community college or go to Rutgers, go to a state school. Rutgers does not charge you like live in state. Don't rack up $200,000 in debt, college debt. That's not the way to go nowadays, in my opinion. And then, Leave the scalping behind, Max.
Yeah.
Leave it behind.
Yeah.
You had your fun pandemic cash. Leave it behind. All right.